I am Ashley Hardy and a founder of Oakwell Academy. On November 20th, 2010, I had a visit from some of our dearest friends from Norman, Oklahoma. Their family was about 10 years older than us, their kids were, and they were in the middle of school and all of those things, and she started telling me about their school, which was a classical Christian blended model in Norman. And as she started telling me about what it would be like, my heart started to burn, and I realized that I had never heard of anything like this. My one and only son at that time was around 18 months old, and I had vaguely started thinking about his future in education, but not much at all. And I heard her talk about Christian education that was truly centered on Jesus and this classical ideal, which never had come across my radar. And I thought, as she was explaining it to me, man, if I had been taught in that way, I think I would have remembered so much more of what I had learned. And then this idea of them not being fully at school all the time, but not being fully homeschooled, to me, that's what really sealed the deal. And I thought, man, I think this is what I've always wanted. And I went to sleep and I woke up the next morning and it felt like there was fire inside of me. I couldn't move away from it, and I didn't know what to do. And so I started to pray. I remember I got on my knees and then I got on my face next to the bed and I just said, Lord, what are you doing? And I felt such a clear sense that he was inviting me in with him to dream about what it might look like to see a school like this in our town established. And I think more than anything at that time, I knew that I wanted to send my kids to a school like that. And I kind of hoped it was already here. and then I realized it wasn't. And so I have a little book here. It's a journal that I started not long after that time, and my first entry was on Saturday, December 4th of 2010. And I felt like after that morning that the Lord told me to take this journal and to begin writing whatever it was that he spoke to me during that time. And there were dreams that I would have at night. There were people that would come up and talk to me about education that I had never known or didn't even know were interested in education. And I didn't Google anything at that time or explicitly talk about it to anyone, except for my husband knew there was this dream of a school in my heart, and some of my friends knew that I was dreaming about something, but they didn't know what. And so then several months later, I gathered that little group of friends together and kind of revealed, like, this is what it is. And at that meeting, I took pieces of paper and I set them in front of everyone in the room. And I said, if you want to be a part of this, could you just write like how many hours you think you could give a week to help see something like this established? And multiple people wrote down. I gave a range, 2 hours, 6 hours. And Lori Evans wrote as many as it takes. And boy, have we seen her be faithful to that.
I'm Lori Evans, and I am one of the founders of Oakwell Academy. Well, my first recollection of thinking about the school was that Ashley and I both heard about a similar school in another state. We heard about it on the same weekend from different people, and of course, Ashley's thought was, how can we see this happen in our city? And my thought was, sure, it'd be nice if we had that. And then I just remember several months later knowing that she had been praying about something secretive. And then as she began to tell people what it was that she was praying about, thinking, well, that sounds really hard to start a school. But then just kind of as I was able to share about after that process of praying and the Lord really putting in my heart a vision for what Oakwell could be and how it could impact students, I felt like what he continued to show me or impress on me was just the idea of an Old Testament city with walls surrounding it, so kind of like Jerusalem. And when Jerusalem was thriving, when its wall was strong, the city was thriving. But when its wall was broken down, the city really didn't even exist. Everybody was just trying to be safe and survive. And I just felt like the Lord was showing me that as we raise our kids together with Him, everything that we do and invest in them is like putting one more brick inside the wall of their lives. And that wall, as it grows, will serve to help inform the way that they interact with the outside world. It helps to keep their inside world strong and healthy. And as that happens, as it gets built, sometimes it can also, maybe it might not be built as strong as possible, or they go somewhere and their wall gets damaged. And I just felt like the Lord just asked me, do you believe that there could be a place where not only are your kids' walls not broken down for having been there, but they're actually made stronger than even you could see that happening just by yourself? And I said, well, Lord, I believe you can do anything. And if that's what you want to do in this city, then I want to be a part of that. I want to see that happen, and I want my kids to experience that. The vision of Oakwell Academy is to come alongside of families and parents to raise disciples of Christ together with them, to provide an excellent education and an environment where not only are they educated with excellence, but they are also brought further into the development of their character and the strength of their character, so that we have disciples of Christ who are ready to go out into the world and fulfill whatever calling God has for them on their lives. Oakwell is a classical Christian university model school. First of all, we are a Christian school, and that is at the foundation of everything that we do. We will love the Lord God with all of our hearts, all of our minds, all of our souls, and all of our strength. And we want the children in our school to see that modeled for them and to want to emulate that as well. And also, we are a classical school, which means that students are brought up in a long-standing and an enduring form of education that really meets students and teaches them in the ways that they're naturally inclined to learn at the different stages of their development. It also is focused on what we call the Great Conversation, which is just the idea that we are learning from all those who went before us, all the great works of literature and the great works of art and the historians before us. We are building on that and learning from them. And as we do that, we can carry that conversation out of the past and on into the present and into the future. We are those who learn from history, so we don't repeat it, but that we can actually grow in wisdom in that as well, and in humility. Also, we are a university model school, which means that we partner together with parents in the education process and in the discipleship process with their students. We offer a professionally designed curriculum. We offer professionally trained teachers. But the unique thing is that parents get to come alongside that. And so the students get their parents one-on-one with them at home as sort of their private tutor and teacher. And that benefit is so huge for students, but the parents get the support of professionally trained staff and professionally designed curriculum.
I think there is something so powerful about the combination of classical Christian university model school coming all together. I think about compounds. You have various elements, hydrogen or oxygen, but when you put them together they become a new thing. And classical education on its own is one thing, and it's great. University model is one thing, and it's great. And of course, we need Christian education. But when you put these three elements together, I believe it makes an unstoppable compound. Something that, when used rightly and seen stewarded, can truly raise children up as disciples of Christ that can change the world. And we're watching it happen right before our eyes. It's a beautiful thing to behold. So, being a university model school means that we get to experience the very best aspects of private education and the very best aspects of homeschool education and put them together into one marvelous combination. And my favorite part of that is what I like to call the gift of time. And I think about, as a mother of my own students at Oakwell, the time that I get to spend with them at home and watching them work on each other's spelling words together, or going and swinging on our little playscape and going over their Latin songs. It gives us the chance to really know each other. In these busy days and with all the things that we have going on, I drink in those days where they're at home
one of the unique things about Oakwell that is really special is our faculty and our staff. And it's been built in a really deliberate and intentional way. We do believe that, as it says in the Bible, every student, when they are fully formed, will be like their teacher. And we take that very seriously. And we know that in every classroom in America, whether we admit it and recognize it or not, discipleship is happening. And it may be discipleship unto the world, or it could be discipleship unto Jesus. And so we are very intentional at Oakwell about remembering that discipleship is always happening and that our students will be like the teachers that we hire to some degree. And so we want to hire those people who are following the Lord with their whole heart and the best of their ability, and who also really love the craft of teaching. The gift of teaching is such an incredible gift, and it's a very real one. And I've just watched so many people who love it and who find their place and they really come alive, and the students in their care thrive. And so we want those people who we want our students to look like. Those are the people that we want to hire, those who love the Lord, who are following him above all else, but who also really love the craft and the gift of teaching as part of who they are, and who are committed to honing that craft with excellence, and that they know it's a calling. It's not just a job, it's very much a calling. We also have such an amazing depth and breadth of leadership at the school, who are truly serving as unto the Lord, and they are one of the things that our teachers are most often bragging about or saying that they love about their job is our administrative team and what they do to keep our school running and to serve the teachers. I look around and I see shepherd after shepherd after shepherd who knows what it is to be a servant leader and to protect the flock that's around them. And I think that's something that is incredibly important and distinctive about Oakwell.
Well, I've seen God's hand at work through Oakwell in what I like to call the feeding of the 5,000. One of my favorite translations of that story, it talks about Jesus saying to his disciples, just bring me what you have. And they did, and then he multiplied it, and he made it more than enough. And he has done that with us as we have taken what little we had and brought it to the Lord time and time and time again, up until today. Every teacher, every staff member, every board member, every parent at the school, they show up, they bring what they have, and the Lord multiplies it, and he makes it more than enough. And I think that's the greatest miracle of Oakwell's story from my perspective, just the provision of God, not just for us to make it and establish, but to thrive and become such an amazing place for students to be educated.